and the Registrar of the Scholarship Secretariat, Dr. Kingsley Agyemang, is advocating for swift legislation to streamline the distribution of scholarship in the country in order to cure numerous misconceptions. He highlights the current challenge faced by officers in making decisions due to the absence of a clear legislation defining who qualifies as a needy individual for scholarship. Dr. Agyemang's stance comes in response to a recent publication by the 4th Estate alleging, among others, that scholarships are being unfairly distributed to well-connected, affluent individuals. In an upcoming interview with my colleague, Carlos Kaloni, Dr. Agyemang emphasizes the necessity of legislation to dispel any misconception about eligibility criteria.
For the past 7 years, he has led the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat, overseeing significant transformations such as the digitization of application processes. However, amidst these successes, there have also been notable allegations regarding his leadership, including claims of selling scholarships to party affiliates at the expense of deserving candidates and reports of delays in stipend payment for foreign students. We'll delve deeper into these allegations. Additionally, my guest is vying to represent the constituent of Ibuakwa South as a member of parliament under the New Patriotic Party, the NPP ticket in the upcoming elections. We'll explore his plans for the constituency if elected. Joining me for the next 30 minutes is Dr. Kingsley Agyemang. Hello.
Hi, Carlos.
Right, so before we even go deeper into these issues, we would want to know who Dr. Kingsley Agyemang is.
Thank you very much, and happy Easter to all your cherished viewers. Dr. Kingsley Agyemang is a Ghanaian. I come from the Ibuakwa South constituency. I had most of my schooling here in Ghana, a few top-ups abroad. I used to work in the financial services industry, rising up to become a managing director of the defunct Unique Life Insurance Company Limited.
Okay.
Got into the early belly of Ghanaian politics in 2015, contested for parliamentary primaries, lost, didn't give up, and began my journey up front. By the kind courtesy of my constituents, they gave me an overwhelming victory in the just past parliamentary primaries, sweeping almost 95-point-something% of total vote cast, represents a very huge percentage in the annals of parliamentary primaries when it comes to the MPP in Ghana. So this is the journey. Built career in the financial services industry, academia, building strong fundamentals within academia, PhD in public health and health promotion with specific research area in obesity and lifestyle, sit on several academic boards and visiting fellow in universities abroad and locally.
Great, rich background. And so we can comfortably say that one of your legs is already in parliament, knowing that, I mean, this is a stronghold of the NPP. We'll come to that aspect, but you have been at the helm of affairs at the Scholarship Secretariat for the past 7 years. Tell us what stage you met the Secretariat when you first went there.
7 years of, very, very, very uneven trajectory. A very huge facility with all intent and purposes established to build the human capacity of our country since 1960. So it is absolutely right to put in perspective that I'm not the first manager of the Scholarship Secretariat. It's been in existence since 1960. Walking into the corridors of the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat, anytime I try to revisit the first day, it gives me goosebumps. This was a national edifice that was neglected, abandoned, and forgotten. I remember very well, it was a Friday. I didn't even know where it was till I picked up my appointment at Jubilee. I asked for direction, they directed me there. And the weekend leading to the Monday for the start of work was a very difficult journey for me. A deserted place, about 2 computers, 1 printer, no suitable furniture to sit. I mean, the place was not salubrious for any any proper or meaningful work as it ought to be.
Okay.
I mean, one would have expected that getting into a place where we are supposed to be training the skill set of the country, at least basic expectations like an interactive website, well-seated staff, well-focused with proper attitude, an office that when you enter, you know that this is a place that is meant for business, I mean, was an illusion. So we needed to quickly work on our internal processes. Okay. Internal processes, I mean that, you know, branding is very key, and having a very congenial atmosphere, especially toiletries. Oh. There were no toilets around. When it's the time of the month, women have to walk around to see if they can find a very suitable office nearby to clean up. The gentlemen were just standing up there outside there to, you know, free themselves, kind of. So it was a very deserted place, so we needed to quickly work on. By the time I took over, the budget for 2017 had been read, and even the media budget had been read. So there was no way you could even ask for additional funding or funding. So I had to resort to corporate Ghana. I remember we were the managers of the then northern scholarships, where, you know, people of the northern extraction.
Exactly.
We had a some form of free high school, and the first point was, why would we write checks for all these over 100 institutions in the northern regions? And the southern part had what we call the hardship scholarship. So almost all the secondary schools were eligible at the time. So why were we writing checks for people to come and pick it up? So you write a check for scholarship grant or feeding grant for Paga Secondary School also. They have to travel all the way down south to come and pick it up. So I said, no, we have to do some banking. Okay. As a way of trying to get the banking sector to support us. So we issued a directive which was resisted vehemently by Charles, the Charles of the then 3 northern regions. Okay. They resisted it. I couldn't understand why you don't want to be paid through a banking system. They wanted to have the check. Yeah. The reasons later I found out was very funny, and it represents the Ghanaian, kind of. Okay. So we needed to appeal to corporate Ghana. They began supporting us. We went to GIFA for computers. The chief of staff also supported us, and we began building a place. So for the first 6 months or so, we needed to build internal capacity. Now you have computers. These are staff, I mean, without disrespecting anybody, these are staff, some have worked there as high as 33 years, 20 years, average age of work there range was about 15 years. Okay. Very comfortable with their manual ways of doing things. So now I want to replace with computers. Culture. Anybody that wants to discuss leadership and rule out the variable core culture will not be doing a very good service to academia and even practical world. So we need to change the culture. Okay. Another aspect was a typical public place that was deserted. Attitudes were off. It was very usual for them to come to work at 10 and close at 3 because there was nothing much happening at the place. So I did what I call leadership by example. When it was about 3 that I found those who are likely to be leaving, I go to them, begin to have discussions about their work, what we can do to improve their work and stuff like that. So over time, they imbibed the culture into it. And the culture we were closing as late as 10 p.m. and by 7 a.m. the following day, we were around. So we began changing the narratives. Now you have to introduce the computers to them by training them on basic Microsoft Office. Okay. So a task that will usually take them their manual way of about, let's say, an hour, this time was taking about a week or 2. But you have to be very patient because you started with the end in mind. All right. You started with the notion that people drive value and that we are going to run a system which the people must own. Okay. Any attempt to impose on them will mean that they will resist it and you will not be able to.
Okay. So basically, you introduced some reforms.
A lot of reforms.
Okay. So for the past 7 years, having introduced these reforms, how would you say administration of scholarships have actually fared under your leadership under the last 7 years, for instance?
It's been very great. I mean, for us to be having this discussion means that we are now more proactive than reactive as we met it.
Okay.
I mean, back in the days, you only heard of Scholarship Secretariat when students were abandoned. There was a lot of, things that were not being done properly. But now, or even before COVID, we were most of the time out there portraying what we do, any good thing that was happening. That was the agenda, to be able to be very visible and, propagate or let the public know what was happening. So there's been a lot of improvement. The attractions that we have had over the years, which for me is a very good problem to have. It means that the Ghanaian youth is very desirous of, having a skill development. And for you to flip something, you have about 8,000, 7,000, 5,000 people applying or expressing an interest, means that there's some form of confidence in you, and people want to try to see if they can also have the opportunity.
Okay, so for purposes of clarity, where you saw the Secretariat, the reforms you introduced, 7 years, you're saying you've seen some improvement. So, for instance, before you met or you went to the Secretariat, averagely per annum, how many scholarships were we giving out?
Okay.
And within up to now, let's see the numbers.
So let's try and put it in perspective. I mean, we need to compare, because I represent a government. So maybe between 2012, I'll say that between 2012 and 2016, for local scholarships, that's under the NDC government, they awarded 27,163.
Okay.
Whereas between 2017 and 2021, we have awarded 124,960. For foreign scholarships, between 2012 and 2016, NDC awarded 2,876. Whereas between 2017 and 2021, we have awarded 7,423. So,
what caused this huge jump? Was it a funding issue? What was it?
It's a multiplicity of factors.
Okay.
Funding very key, but positioning yourself for traction, that comes in the form of the bilateral scholarships, is also a very dominant variable that you can't downplay. And internal processes to restructure the flow of work so that